Today's story is part 3 of 7. The next morning dawned soft and gray. Clouds gathered over the city, diffusing light into a gentle, even glow. Miriam woke slowly, listening to the faint patter of rain on the roof. It wasn't heavy, just a steady, soothing drizzle that seemed to encourage introspection rather than hurry. She lingered in bed for a few minutes, feeling the warmth of her blanket and the quiet rhythm of her breathing. Eventually she rose, moved to the kitchen, and began preparing breakfast. The eggs sizzled gently in the pan, a comforting sound she had grown to associate with calm mornings. As she buttered a slice of bread, Miriam thought about the letter she had received from an old school friend, Sarah, who had written about her children, her work, and the small challenges of daily life. Nothing monumental, nothing extraordinary, but reading it had given Miriam a fleeting sense of connection across time and distance. After breakfast, she decided to go for a short walk. The rain had tapered off, leaving the streets glistening with a fresh sheen. Miriam carried an umbrella, but often found herself walking under it only half-heartedly, letting the rain kiss her face at intervals. She passed familiar storefronts, noting the changes. A new display in the florist's window, a freshly painted bench outside the small bookstore, a shopkeeper rearranging fruit in neat pyramids. Each small observation felt like a brushstroke in a larger picture she had only recently begun to see. A child ran past, chasing a paper boat that floated along a shallow puddle. Miriam smiled, watching as the child laughed and splashed without concern. She felt an echo of that unguarded joy within herself, a reminder that happiness did not always require achievement, recognition, or reason. Sometimes it existed simply in the act of being present, of noticing and letting the world flow around you. Returning home, Miriam tended to her plants. She carefully pruned a tomato plant, adjusting its supports and checking the soil. The act was repetitive, mundane even, yet it grounded her. She marveled at how life, in its persistence, unfolded without ceremony, growing steadily whether acknowledged or not. When the bell above the door chimed, Miriam looked up from her sketchpad. It was Mrs. Petrov, her downstairs neighbor, holding a bouquet of lavender and rosemary. "I saw you at your window yesterday," Mrs. Petrov said with a shy smile. "Thought you might like these." Miriam accepted the flowers, touched by the gesture. "They're beautiful," she said, aware that the compliment was as much for the thought behind the gift as its actual presentation. Mrs. Petrov nodded, then hesitated. "I know this is sudden, and please don't feel obligated, but I wondered if perhaps you'd like to have dinner with my husband and me this week. We haven't had many opportunities to get to know you since you moved in, and we'd like to change that." Miriam felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I would love to," she replied, surprised by the sincerity in her own voice. Later, as the sky deepened from blue to indigo, Miriam stood at her window watching the city lights flicker on one by one. She thought about the upcoming dinner, the casual invitation that had bridged a silent understanding. The idea of sharing a meal, of engaging in simple conversation, filled her with a contentment she hadn't anticipated. It was in these subtle connections, these quiet moments of shared humanity, that Miriam found a solace she hadn't known she needed. The day had been unremarkable in itself, yet its accumulation with moments of connection, growth, and quiet understanding had brought a depth of satisfaction she hadn't expected. She turned away from the window, her gaze falling on her sketchpad. Opening it, she found a collection of drawings and notes from the day. The image of the sparrow, now more accurate, the streets reflecting the overcast sky, the lines of the buildings on her street. Each sketch was a testament to her patient observation, a quiet acknowledgement of the world around her. There was no grand artistry to them, no attempt to capture perfection. They were simply there, marking time and space. And in their simplicity, they affirmed the beauty of everyday life. Miriam's gaze drifted to her plants, bathed in the soft glow of the nearby lamp. Their leaves, though unassuming, were engaged in a silent, ceaseless process of growth and nourishment. A single tomato, a promise of abundance, rested on the vine. The plants were not a source of immediate gratification, but their presence was a constant, a grounding force that spoke of life's enduring cycles. As the evening deepened, Miriam made a cup of tea, the steam carrying the scent of chamomile and lavender. She sat down with her notebook, the blank page before her a silent invitation to reflect. The day had woven its threads into the fabric of her life, a reminder that profound moments could reside in the most unassuming hours. With a deep breath, she began to write, not with the intention of documenting every detail, but of capturing the essence of what had transpired. She wrote of the rain, the walks, the flowers, and the budding friendship with her neighbors. But she also wrote of the feelings that accompanied these events, the quiet joy, the unexpected comfort, and the growing sense of belonging. It wasn't about creating a comprehensive record, but about encapsulating a mood, a state of being. In the quiet of her room, surrounded by the tangible signs of her day, Miriam found a meditative state. It wasn't a conscious search for happiness, but a patient acceptance of life's unfolding. The day had been content in its simplicity, and as she wrote, she found herself enveloped in that same tranquility. Her words flowed onto the page, not seeking validation, not striving for grandiosity, but simply existing. As the night deepened, Miriam continued writing, her pen tracing the contours of her experiences. The day's events wove together, forming a narrative of quiet growth and subtle connection. Her words were not those of a detached observer, but of a participant fully engaged with life's understated beauty. With the final stroke of her pen, Miriam closed her notebook, her hand lingering on the cover as if reluctant to break the spell. The room was hushed, the only sound the distant murmur of the city. Yet within those four walls, a world of meaning had been created, a world born from attentive observation and an open heart. The day had dawned soft and gray, mirroring the gentle unfolding of her thoughts, her feelings, and her connections. As sleep finally drew near, Miriam looked around her room, at the plants reaching towards the light, at the sketches on her desk, and at the closed notebook resting on her lap. In the quiet tapestry of her everyday life, she had found not just a day, but a moment of quiet understanding, of connection, and of content. And in that moment, she understood that joy did not need proof. It existed in the patient rhythm of life, in the attentive observation of the world, and in the quiet unfolding of one's own story. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to check out part 4, which will be published soon. To support our channel, consider liking this video and sharing it with a friend. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content. Thanks for watching.